From 1932 to 1934, Bonnie and Clyde would become notorious criminals throughout the Midwestern states and all of America. Let's take a look at some places here in Texas that are associated with the duo. Check it out. This was the family home that Clyde Barrow grew up in. It was also a filling station. It was a star service station at one time. Doesn't look much like a gas station anymore. The pumps would have probably been right around here. Now abandoned. I've heard that the original building is brick right there, and it was added on the wood part back there. It's a pretty busy street right now, and it's not in a very good neighborhood. Kind of the neighborhood here in Dallas, but this was the family gas station and home of Clyde Barrow. This school has long been abandoned, but this was the elementary school Bonnie Parker used to go to off Chalk Hill Road. Once known as Eagle Ford, the area, or Cement City. Now it's abandoned. In the late 20s to early 30s, Bonnie Parker moved in with her mother and stayed with her until she met up with Clyde. And here are a few places that she lived in the south side of Dallas. 1214 South Lamar. Once a residence of Bonnie and her mother, now the Dallas Police Headquarters. Who would have thought? 1406 Cockrell is another residence where she lived. And strangely enough, it is also home to the police department. And it's restricted, so I can't go down there any further. But so around these two blocks I guess there were homes right around here. And now it's all part of the police department. Yeah, any resemblance to any houses being in this little corner right here are long gone. But this is 1606 Durant. It used to be 1606 Douglas, and this is one of the areas that Bonnie lived with her mother. There were some houses over here. Now it's just an empty lot. Right in front of me looks like just a normal building that people are working on here in Dallas off Swiss Avenue, Swiss Circle. But this actually was the home to Hartgrave's Cafe. Right behind me, the old building of Hartgrave's Cafe. Bonnie used to work there. I've also read that Ted Hinton used to come here and visit and eat, and he said he saw Bonnie. Also Bob Alcorn. I'm confused. Some stories say that Bob Alcorn, it was him that used to eat here, or Ted Hinton. But either one of the two police officers used to eat here, and Bonnie used to serve them. And coincidentally, they were the two officers involved with the ambush in Louisiana. Between January 1928 and spring of 1929, Bonnie Parker worked here. Here's an old one-cell jail in Kemp, Texas. Not much to see in there. It said that Bonnie Parker spent one night here in 1932, and onlookers would look in on her and she would spit at them. Here in Kemp, it's a really small town. If you ever come out here, prepare not to have any cell service. I think this dates back to the 1900s, early, like 1902. February 27th, 1934. Bonnie and Clyde robbed the R.P. Henry & Sons Bank. The bank is here in Lancaster, Texas. The original bank got messed up in a tornado and they pretty much devoured it, so they rebuilt this. The tornado was in 1994. I was in it. A few people were killed. It was not good. This is probably an old gas station back in the day here in Lancaster, the old town. Probably the pumps would have been right here. It'd be cool if they would make it back into one, or at least replicate it. Interesting fact about Lancaster, Texas. Pat Garrett used to live here before he moved to, I don't know where he moved to, but you know, this is the Pat Garrett that killed Bonnie, or not Bonnie, but Billy the Kid. I'm talking so much about Bonnie and Clyde, I'm stumbling over words. Throughout Bonnie and Clyde's 2-year crime spree, they would stay and hide out at many friends and families' houses, including motor courts just like this one. In fact, I read a few weeks prior to being ambushed in Louisiana, they stayed at this motor court in Decatur, Texas. If you're unfamiliar with a motor court, basically it's the precursor to what we have as motels today, or hotels. What people would do, they would pull in with their cars and they would park in places like this, and right next to it you would have your room. And Bonnie and Clyde stayed at many of these, as well as, you know, friends and families while they were hiding out. This is pretty cool. What makes this thing interesting is that it's petrified wood on top of this. Or it's the gas station that it's the gas station that has petrified wood. Right over there. Petrified wood all on the outside of the gas station. And they had a little cafe right next to it. Texas Plaza. Man, look at these old pumps. Man, my. Here's the old cafe that was a part of the motor court. I tell you what, people must have been shorter back then. I've got to keep bending down to get into these doorways. This must have been the Texas Plaza, right? At the gas station right there, the cafe, and behind it were the little tourist areas. I read that people knew who Bonnie and Clyde were when they were staying here, but they didn't approach them. So I guess they didn't want any trouble. On April 1st, 1934, Easter Sunday, Bonnie and Clyde and partner Henry Methvin parked right around this road in Grapevine off Highway 114, Dove Road. Two motorcycle patrolmen, E.B. Wheeler and H.D. Murphy, saw the car and they thought it was a stalled car, so they decided to help. When they approached the car, Henry Methvin jumped out and shot first. Possibly Clyde followed, killing both patrolmen. They put this plaque here in their memory. Here's the Ponder State Bank. It said that Bonnie and Clyde robbed this bank, or at least tried to, and they didn't know the week before they tried to rob it that this bank went bankrupt. So it is also said that Raymond Hamilton was the one that robbed it, but I hear different accounts. But this is the bank here in Ponder, Texas. See the inside of the bank. Ponder State Bank in Ponder, Texas. Following a 2-year-long crime spree, Bonnie and Clyde would eventually be ambushed and killed on May 23, 1934 in Gibbsland, Louisiana, and their bodies were taken back here to Dallas for burial. Behind me is the Balo Mansion. This was used for Clyde Barrow's funeral. This mansion was built in 1900, and I'm sure by the looks of it, none of these buildings were around. They had an open viewing, and an estimated 10,000 people came to view Clyde's body. This is Bonnie Parker's final resting place at Crown Hill Memorial Park. She was originally buried at the Fish Trap which I think it's now called La Reunion, but in 1945 they brought her over here. And right next to her is her mom. Western Heights Cemetery. Pretty old cemetery. Not very big, but when you enter, go directly to your left. Directly to the left. It's Clyde Barrow's grave. It's Clyde Barrow's grave. He shares a gravestone with his brother Marvin, also known as Buck, who was killed almost a year earlier. Directly beside him is his mother and father, Henry and Cumie Barrow.